Hunter Avallone, a person who was once in the top 10 conservative content creators, now is best known as the person who was once a conservative and now is on the left, and unfortunately for him, that has not been a rather pleasant experience in terms of retaining an audience. But thankfully, as he mentioned, he doesn't care about money and audience, so I guess it's not so bad for him as it seems from the outside. Now, in this video, I will not attempt to explain why Hunter Avallone is wrong, because that is already being done by Sean Fitzgerald, better known as the Actual Justice Warrior, who made a series of videos brilliantly destroying many of Hunter's talking points to which he never really responded, and in fact Hunter had lost his mind on Twitter when was challenged to a debate because he knows that Actual Justice Warrior's arguments will be convincing if they ever had a debate, and changing the sides 2 times or even becoming a centrist freethinker instead of a social libertarian would be catastrophic for the remainder of his audience, among which there are only a few leftists, despite him constantly pandering to them. Maybe consider changing your humor from the 2016 style humor with pretentious Destiny and Little Steven Crowder characteristics to something rather new, but that's just a suggestion. In any event, I won't be stealing the debunking Hunter format from the Actual Justice Warrior, and instead I will make this video about something that no one has yet talked about with regards to Hunter's transition, and you will be surprised to hear this, but I kinda knew Hunter's opinions would change and he eventually would become a lefty, and had spotted those trends and tendencies at the time when I started watching him in 2016. So if you're curious to the real reason to why he had changed his beliefs and what has contributed to his downfall in the eyes of many, I would advise you to watch this video until the end. Hunter Avallone has grown up in, I would assume, an upper middle class white family, judging by the aesthetics of his early videos, and was homeschooled. I remember even watching his early videos, and one struck me in particular, which was about mocking atheists, before he became an atheist himself sometime at around 2018. The video was made of typical Christian and creationist talking points that I at some point of time even thought that this video was a satire, but it wasn't, and it will be safe to assume that those were the talking points that he got from his parents, since he admitted in his recent debate titled "Vicious Confrontation with My Biggest Hater" that he doesn't really have friends besides his family, and then he released his famous Muslim video that was later deleted, and since his views have started to shift more and more mainstream. As a person who was in a kind of a conservative echo chamber myself back in 2016 to 2017, I have noticed how he had repeated all of the conservative talking points in his videos, and I thought that he doesn't really have a mind of his own and was easily influenced by other people, while even I myself only consumed exclusively right-wing content but still had a critical eye. During that time, I treated him as the average YouTube conservative. I did not in any way thought that he was special. With regards to his sense of humor, I liked his old videos up to somewhere to 2017, but unfortunately now, even though there are unique aspects to his old sense of humor, I see them as very generic and overly sarcastic, and as sarcasm today is the cheapest form of humor, I did not really enjoy rewatching his older videos. His sense of humor was unique and generic at the same time, but unfortunately for him, that sense of humor became even more generic and even more pretentious in the past years, to the point of him losing a lot of followers. So sometime at around late 2017 to early 2018, I stopped regularly watching him and decided to finally unsubscribe from him, as he wasn't entertaining enough for me, and moreover he didn't have anything smart to say in 2018 as he didn't have anything smart to say in 2015, and by that time I was sure that he eventually will join the left, so I didn't want to witness this process taking place in front of my eyes. Then in like a year or so, I have revisited his channel just out of curiosity, and there he was claiming that conservative censorship is a myth, and as he later admitted to Wash, alt-right censorship is not conservative censorship because it's alt-right, making Vosh really satisfied. What a good boy. So by that time he was making videos helpful to the social left, although sometimes still producing his unoriginal 2016 type videos. I remember that he mentioned in one of his videos at the time that he was swayed by popular opinion when he was talking about Fortnite versus PUBG, and at that point I was sure that the transition would finish soon. Unfortunately, I cannot show you the exact clip of that because I could not find it, and I don't want to waste hours of my time watching his older videos because I already wasted enough. But if you will ever find this clip, then write a comment with the title name and put a timestamp on it, and I will make sure to pin your comment so that other people could see it for themselves. I hear a lot of people claiming that he was never a true conservative and switched overday, but in fact it has been a long process, as he had admitted it himself, as well as the signs of that could be seen in 2017, 18 and 19. But still, there is a tiny bit of truth to that assertion. On one hand, Hunter said that he believed in the things he said in the live stream with Wash, while on the other, just recently he had this shit to say.
Back when I was deep in the right-wing grift, I bumped shoulders occasionally.
That I don't actually believe he believes in it himself, but maybe it was really a grift. Who knows? One thing that is true for sure is that Hunter Avallone was socialized to be a conservative, just as how he was re-socialized to be a leftist by watching Vosh and etc. As he had admitted, he was once in a conservative echo chamber and now he is in the leftist echo chamber, repeating all of their talking points, although he claims to be a free thinker centrist, but unfortunately for him, centrists don't talk like this.
Candace Owens is so insufferable. Oh, it's so fucking annoying, me.
Sargon of
no,
Akkad.
I fucking hate Blair White too, by the way.
Fucking worthless.
I
piece
used
of
to
shit.
Blair White. I don't think she's a fucking neo-Nazi, but realizing that she's just a fucking degenerate. I don't really know if roaming millennial or Lauren Chen is like a neo-Nazi or if she's like.
I think she's a fascist. I don't think she's bitten down on the JQ just yet.
I hate Crowder. To be honest, I've always disliked Crowder. Like, I always found him really insufferable, and I always would be bothered because people used to compare me to him a lot. Now I see the comparison a little more. So yes, anal sex can help win the culture war.
This is a typical lefty behavior, and I was not surprised that he exhibits this, since he had admitted that he is influenced by popular opinion. But why is that? In his video titled Why I Left the Right, he often talked about the morality of people and even a sense of what it's like to be a good person, and unfortunately for Hunter, due to social pressures, he could not feel as a good person anymore, while having his old opinions on certain topics about which he once openly talked on his channel, but not about all topics, of course.
Basically, at that point, from that point on, I just started watching your content more, and I watched the first video I watched from you was you responding to Red Ice TV, which was honestly a really good starting point for me because I was able to see very quickly, okay, this is something I don't align with. I don't like this whole whites, like the whites are superior approach that they were taking. And I was picking up on the nuance too. I was like, yeah, this is actually kind of fucked up.
Moreover, I sincerely believe that to this day Hunter holds some of those feelings, but unfortunately is constrained by his newly social character to which he needs to conform in order to be accepted. However, his old thought patterns still manifest themselves subconsciously. For example, in his long video on why he was leaving the right, the part where he was talking about race was cut as if he had said something that needed to be cut. And now recently this.
Today we learned that you're totally fine with acknowledging that white males commit suicide at a higher rate because of societal pressures maybe put on them.
Another example of that is when he confused race with nationality.
People are ultimately divided more by class than by nationality. Oh, well, yeah, I mean, of course, I strongly agree with this, actually. You would have much more in common with a black person living in your neighborhood than you would with a rich white guy living over in like Beverly Hills or something.
No, Hunter, those black people are your fellow Americans, meaning one nationality. However, for Hunter, it seems like, at least on the subconscious level, those people are not exactly the same nationality. What's also interesting is that his attacks on white racism seem to be overly emotional and exaggerated, as if he feels personal responsibility. Or should I say, guilt?
Part of me did feel a little guilty because I was like, I never fully went down the Nazi path, thank God. But I was definitely really close on a few positions, which I would actually like to talk to you about that on the stream too. But I don't think that I was necessarily, I don't want to go as far as to say I was radicalizing people to be alt-right, but I think that I was, for a long time, creating a bit of a safe space for people like that. Like Sargon, I don't know if I would not call the guy a Nazi, but he's certainly a white nationalist.
Yes.
He's certainly a white
Judging by Hunter Avallon's definition of a white nationalist, Sargon of Akkad is as white nationalist, probably to a lesser extent as Hunter Avallone is himself, as he doesn't watch Red Eyes and even debates the alt-right. But in any event, both of them are white men who are repressing their racial consciousness, and are probably both quick to attack each other if one of them is exposed to being secretly racist in order to score some good person points.
Our race has many superior qualities compared to the other races. Nice try.
I used to be in the same situation as them, although I never attacked whites for being racist, but rather I was repressing my racial consciousness, at least in the public life and sometimes even in private, because I was told by the society that in order to be moral as a white person, one should not feel a sense of belonging to his people as are other races because of white guilt. And I'm 100% sure that back in the days, if I were to answer whether I feel pride in my race, I would have to say no on public. Unfortunately for Hunter, he never understood power relations that are shaping morality, as well as the morality's incredible relativism. But as a person who was a Christian, as well as still retains Christian values while he is an atheist, morality being socially constructed just doesn't make any sense to him. His conflicting and complex relationship with Christianity jumps from reading the Bible to his son to saying that no one should be taking the Bible seriously on his recent debate with essentially a crazy pollster.
It's not really a condemnation of like homosexuality, especially not the way we recognize.
Have you ever read Leviticus?
Yep. Have you ever read the verse right after that one about stoning gay people, where it says to accept immigrants as your own?
So wait, you just acknowledge the fact that God's not cool with gay marriage, then?
Well,
right?
no,
You just acknowledged it, guys. We fucking won. Got you, bitch.
He was, I guess, ingrained since childhood that there is only one way to be moral, and although he was taught that the way to be moral is to follow Jesus, effectively in our days to be moral is to follow the crowd, who are always morally right because they define morality for everyone else. I've seen like 10 of his recent videos, and I cannot help but feel pity for him for trying to conform to the dominant ideology to redeem his old sins and be accepted in the new group.
People like Hunter now. Because as of late, he's basically gone down a redemption arc.
Part of that transition, of course, involves adapting their language, which a lot of people hate.
Oh, goody. This one comes from
Goody? Come on,
Pen
man.
Warren.
A new group which he will never abandon if he wants to be seen as a good person, and the proofs of that lie in the fact that he is running from debates, first from Fuentes, then with Mr. Fitzgerald, because he knows that he will be challenged and forced yet to reconsider essentially his entire identity. And truly he had suffered enough, first because of his emotional trauma that he attributes as a decisive factor for becoming quote free thinker centrist unquote, who calls roaming millennial definitely a fascist, then because of the loss of his fans that mostly watched him for confirmation bias, and then he is not totally in line with the left on most or all issues, as he once wanted to align with the right on all issues when he was a conservative, although now he calls this time period his grift time because he can't accept who he was morally a few years ago.
I used to not have principles, and I think I'm still figuring shit out, but it definitely feels better than being a fucking grifter.
A similar transaction also was undergone by the amazing atheist Shuon Hand and Ashton Birdie that I have witnessed in front of my eyes, so I clearly see the same signs there. The culture on what constitutes morality and being good and right has changed, and in order to enjoy being perceived as good and right and moral, as well as not being cancelled, which will put you on the bottom of the social dominance hierarchy, makes people reactively adapt to the changing environment, as it is the best strategy for gaining social respect. I'm really sad that not all of them are not as honest about their true emotions that are guiding their actions, but regardless of that, I'm happy that Hunter Avallone has made a right decision in terms of becoming a father of 2 children, and that is worthy of respect. And in any event, I hope that Hunter again becomes a free thinker as he called himself 7 months ago, and I hope that he will get himself educated on evolution and social psychology, as well as power relations and social relativity, as those were the major things that have stopped me from becoming a social lefty myself. Maybe then he will realize the unfortunate relativity of morality that jumps from one culture to another, and maybe it will make him think about things that are not socially constructed but rather are determined by sexual and group selection. Anyways, that was all I wanted to talk about for today, and if you can, please send this video to Hunter, as I would like to know what he thinks about it, and maybe one day we can even have a dialogue.